Okay, I think we are live. Okay. Hi, it's a new day. How are you? Hi, Dom. Hello. It's gonna be a good one tonight, guys. I've got a got a really cool guest for you. Hi, Jenny. Hello. So let me see if I can get that pulled up. Hey, Alex. Let me see. Damn, you okay, Dom? They're getting your videos blocked. Damn. Hi, Goddess. Hello. I'm sorry. Oh, man. Yeah, I love the space lights, guys. Okay. I do need to throw a wrench at you. I'll have to do it in my... Let me see. If anybody else wants a wrench, let me know. Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah, you are right. Yeah, you are right. Oh, man. Hi, Tracy. Hello. Well, I hope you feel better, Dom. Yeah, there might be something going around. Okay, let me see. Oh, yeah. I guess, well, let me see if I can do... Why is this always so hard for me? You know me, I'm always come prepared. Okay, that's uploading. Hi, Lori. Hello. Hey, guys. Tonight's gonna be a good one. Got a good guest. Okay. So, yeah, I did put together a presentation, so we'll see. We'll see how necessary it is. It has been a day and it has been a week. So yeah. Yeah, Brad, he has the link. Hey, Emerald. Hello. He has the link. I did say I'm probably going to read through. Hi, Tracy. Yes. I'm probably going to read through close to half of it. And then, you know, if he wants to come on up, he can. But I'll say hi to some people first. Hopefully my voice holds out. Hi, Jer. Hello. It's good to see you guys. Yeah, tonight's going to be a good one, guys. Trying to check my phone at the same time. Yeah, so everybody having a good weekend so far? It's been something. That's for sure. Yeah. Yeah, it's a new day. You'll really appreciate this, dude. It's it's pretty crazy, I'm not gonna lie. Yeah, you'll get to hear it in his own words too. So, hey Dino, hello. Hi. How's it going? So Brad is he is an investigative reporter. And he has been delving deep into the corruption in northern Kentucky. Hey Moonbeam, hello. And there's so many overlapping themes that we find in Delphi. But yeah, he's a good guy. He's been through a lot. Every time I feel like I am being needlessly harassed, I think of what he's gone through. And, I don't feel as bad, I guess. I don't know. So, yeah, guys. Just wait for some people to come in. And then we can get started on it. Yes, Jerry, exactly. It is. That is a good observation. Yeah. So Coy Cox is the lead detective based out of Boone County, Kentucky. He was the lead investigator on the Stevenson's case, the murders of Bill and Peggy Stevenson. And Alex actually did correspond with him quite a bit, at least in, I want to say 2022, 2023, and early 2024. But yeah, so this is going to be an extension of what Alex has talked about for sure. And then but this is somebody's whole life. Brad is actually from the area. So hi 26 Dead Zombies, hello. Yeah, make sure I'm saying hi to everybody. Yeah, and guys, let me know if you want a wrench too. Yeah, he's from Kentucky, so hold on. Okay, so yeah. But yeah, it's a new day. It was quite terrifying to see all of the overlap that happened. So I got it. Hi Heather, hello. How are you, Heather? It's good to see you. Yeah. Just wait for some more people to come in. I may fall asleep. Yeah. Yeah, I'm having that adrenaline crash right now, so but I spiked my lemonade with some Red Bull, so hopefully I don't get too jittery or anything. Yes, I hope you're doing well, Heather. So we shall see, we shall see. Oof, excuse me. So, pucker face. Yeah. But yeah, hopefully everybody's having a good weekend. Tomorrow is Mother's Day. Don't forget to call your moms, if you can, And if you still get along with her, or grandma, whoever. I usually have to remind all the men in my life when Mother's Day is, when my mom's birthday is. You still live in our basement? Good to know, Jer. Good to know. Yeah, so hopefully we won't have any disruptors tonight. Yeah. So, okay, I think I'm actually going to get started then. I think we're... Hi, Iron. Hi. Thank you. Sooner than expected. Thank you. Yeah. It's fun. I love those lights. Yeah. So, but yeah, I hope everybody's having a good weekend. And yeah, I know. I'm sure you were kidding. Yeah, it's okay. It's okay if you do live in your mom's basement. No judgment. It's not like anybody can really afford to live many other places right now. So, but yeah. Hi, Mother of Dragons. Hello. Okay, so let's do this. Oh boy, I'm gonna actually have to. Oh, hey, say what? Hello, hi, Rebecca. Hello. Um, yeah, the cabal which Trump is getting rid of. I hope so. I hope somebody's doing a RICO, because these people kind of need to be shoved in a space where the sun don't shine. Oh, okay. Okay. So let me see. I'm actually gonna have to go. That's just gonna be loud. There we go. Turn it down. Okay. Because I'm gonna have to make this bigger just to read it. Okay. So let's see. Oh, is Shibby in here? Damn. Is Shibby in here? I can't see him. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Let me make this bigger. I'm not gonna be able to see chat on my screen, but I'll be able to see it on my phone. So today we're covering yeah. Amen 26 Dead Zombies. So today we're going to cover racketeering, retaliation, and resistance. The fight to expose the criminal system in northern Kentucky and beyond. And it is going to be a discussion with Brad Blankenship. Okay, I'm going to need to shut off notifications. Sorry, guys. 100% professional. Okay. So, disclaimer, always a disclaimer. The content discussed in this presentation includes disturbing themes such as child abuse, sexual exploitation, murder, and systemic corruption. Viewer discretion is strongly advised. The claims presented are those of the guest and are shared in the context of public interest and investigative dialogue. While we aim to provide space for truth-seeking and survivor testimony, no allegation is presented here as proven fact unless verified through official sources. The conversation is not intended to accuse, convict, or implicate anyone without due process. Our goal is to explore overlooked truths, ask difficult questions, and support transparency in unresolved cases. So I'll go to the next slide. So basically, a lot of this is going to start with the murders of Bill and Peggy Stevenson. And I'm sure you guys have heard us talk about this. So, Bill and Peggy Stevenson were beloved members of their community in Florence, Kentucky. Florence, Kentucky is in Boone County, up in northern Kentucky. They were devout Christians known for their kindness, humility, and unwavering dedication to their family and faith. Married for over 50 years, they were deeply involved in their church and spent much of their retirement serving others through acts of compassion and charity. Bill, a retired truck driver, was known for his warm smile and quiet strength, while Peggy was remembered for her nurturing spirit and commitment to prayer. Together they lived a quiet, purposeful life, grounded in love, service, and spiritual devotion. Their presence left a lasting impact on those who knew them, and they are remembered not just for how they died, but for the grace and goodness with which they lived. So, on the 29th of May, 2011, Bill and Peggy Stevenson were found brutally murdered in their Boone County, Kentucky home. The crime scene was not only violent, but carefully staged. Bibles placed around the house, items arranged in symbolic ways, and yet no signs of forced entry. Despite national attention, multiple agencies, and years of investigative work, including links drawn to other staged or ritualistic crimes, this double homicide remains unsolved. Understanding some of the regional corruption, the assertion has been made that the Stevensons murders is but a link in a long chain leading to something much larger: organized crime, ritualized violence, and or even coordinated silencing. So, the region that we'll be looking at here is this dark blue. I realize that when I open it on my computer. Okay, so the cursor doesn't show up when I do this. All right, good to know. So, Northern Kentucky has a long history of organized crime and public corruption, particularly centered around Newport, which is it's going to be probably difficult to see. Let me see. Newport is kind of across the way. It's a little bit more to the east, or like down to the right of Cincinnati, divided there by the Ohio River. But yeah, Cincinnati, Ohio, I should say. Newport's kind of across the way from there. So, Newport was once dubbed the Sin City of the Midwest. So during the Prohibition era through the 1960s, mafia-controlled networks operated illegal casinos, prostitution rings, and political rackets with protection from law enforcement and elected officials. These criminal enterprises extended their influence into Boone, Kenton, and Campbell counties. So on the bigger infographic that is that has the Indiana and Ohio in it, the blue-ish counties are the ones that are in northern Kentucky. The top three there that are bordering Indiana and Ohio are Boone, Kenton, and Campbell. So these counties, they eventually linked up with larger syndicates, both in Ohio and in Indiana. But over time, this legacy of corruption became institutionalized, embedding itself into court systems, police departments, and local government. Sounds very familiar. Hi, Cindy. Hello. Hi, don't dox me. Hi. Sorry, guys. I'm not paying attention to the chat right now. What is that goal saying? What's this? No. No. How do I delete that? Okay, sorry guys. ADD. Yeah, sorry if I haven't said hi, guys. Okay, hold on. Your fairy tale city. You don't want to be there, Dina. Don't mind the cat. So yeah, it's Northern Kentucky is sounding very familiar to us, isn't it? A legacy of corruption embedded into court systems, police departments, and local government. The remnants of that power structure continue to undermine justice today. So, our conversation today explores the systems that enable silence and protect power, particularly rooted in Northern Kentucky, but extending into surrounding states, the broader region, and even across the country. I need to make sure that's the one. Okay, so today we'll be joined by investigative journalist Brad Blankenship, who claims to have solved the brutal murders of Bill and Peggy Stevenson. His journey toward uncovering the truth began with a deeply personal nightmare, one that led him to believe the killer is someone he knows intimately. In coming forward, Brad has risked everything. After facing not only inaction but also reprisals from local law enforcement, he's taken his fight to both federal and international institutions. His story is about more than just a cold case. It's about confronting systemic corruption and abuse, even when it's rooted in one's own past. So he's an American journalist, columnist, and political commentator, and I will post his Substack in the description after the live is done. Let me exit full screen and see. Okay, good. We do have Brad. He's here. So let me take this down real quick. Remove for now. Okay, so go ahead and, give a good welcome to Brad. Oh, and hi, Linda. Hello. Hi.
Hey there.
Can you
How
hear
you
me
doing?
okay?
Yeah, I can hear you good. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Can you guys hear him okay? I think they can.
Awesome.
Yes. So, welcome. How are you doing? It's nice to meet you.
Yeah, nice to meet you too. I'm doing all right. I What have I been up to lately? Just reading a lot of books. I've been reading a lot of Chinese philosophy since I've been here. The
Nice.
book Changes, I Ching. I would really recommend this.
Okay.
Um, it's got a lot of commentary by this woman named Carrie Baines, who's actually from Louisville, and she's a Jungian psychologist, and she wrote this book with a lot of commentaries with Dr. Jung himself. So if you're into
Wow.
psychology, I would really recommend that book. And
Wow.
I
Yes.
mentioned a lot of passages in my manifesto because I found that a lot of these patterns, politically and socially, you find that they repeat themselves. And in my time here in China since October, I've really been diving into a lot of ancient wisdom too, to just you know um, find some common ground, even if it's not here in the present right now.
Mhm. Mhm. I mean, that's incredible. That's really cool. I mean, China though, that's far away. Any reason for being so far away? Do you
So
want to go into that?
I was in Brazil at the beginning of last year. Before that, I was living in Europe for 6 years, and I went on a road trip at the end of 2023 and met my friend and I. We were in Peru, and then we drove to Brazil. And when I got to Brazil, I was like, man, I really like it here. And I was living in the Czech Republic at the time, and I moved all my stuff to Brazil, and I thought I was going to settle down there, but long story short, it just wasn't the vibe. I came back to the U.S. and actually at the like when I was in Brazil, I had a job interview to come to China, and in my life, I've learned to always have a second or a third or a fourth option in the burner because uh, with my family and just the whole situation in my community, like it's just never been stable. Like I've never had any sort of stability or even basic guarantees of safety within my community. So I had like a job in China as a backup when I returned to the United States last year. But in truth, I wanted to actually just settle down and change careers. I actually wanted to stop being a journalist last year. I wanted to go into psychology because I to really sum it up, I just had a really incredible journey in my own personal development, which began when I did a lot of shadow work for people who are familiar with Jungian psychology. And after that, I started to see more clearly, and I thought, I want to help children who are who grew up from my kind of situation. I connected with some national advocates, people who survived child exploitation and sex trafficking as children. And unfortunately, last year, things really spun out of control, and I had to basically flee for my life and take the job in China.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Do you want to go into that at all?
I don't mind it.
Okay.
I don't mind it. I mentioned some of that in my last Substack post.
Okay.
So I was in Kentucky at my parents' house, and as a background, my uncle William Blankenship is a high-profile serial offender, and his trial in Kentucky ended in February of last year. Mm-hmm. I read the media reports from that in the Cincinnati Enquirer, and it occurred to me that evidence in that case pointed to my family, which was not even. This is not even speculative. This is a fact. They had hidden the identity of my family, and as a reporter, I'm like, well, that either means that they're a suspect they're implicated and they're suspects, so they don't want to risk defamation if there's an ongoing investigation, or number two, they have obscured their identity for whatever reason. So I go back, I guess it was like June, I go back from Brazil, and immediately just start getting met with escalating threats. Like, it was over the most banal stuff. It was like, stop talking about the past. And it was like really aggressive responses from my father, my sister. I have so much evidence of all this stuff, like them threatening my life and like 911 calls and stuff. But it was like such an overreach. It was such an overreaction that I'm like, why is my basic survival in my life being threatened for bringing up the past? I think any rational person would say, okay, I need to get the hell out of here. So that's what I did. I called the police, said I need to get out of here. I don't feel safe. Like, I have nowhere else to go. And then I realized, like, as I try to talk to my extended family, that my father had like planted all these rumors about me. So I'm like, I'm being socially isolated on purpose. Mm-hmm. And I'm like being encircled right now. And I'm like, dude, I'm in like serious danger. So I talked to my mom, and then she's like, I will get you an Airbnb in Cincinnati. So I cross state lines, and I'm over there. Mm-hmm. And like, I think I had said something. Well, I did say to my father, like, I need you to just relax. I need you to stop threatening me. I need you to stop threatening my mom. I need you to stop threatening everybody. Like, just relax, okay? Because I don't know what you're all about. And he, I told him, like, I'm going to have a relationship with my extended family without you. And if you don't abide by these boundaries, then I'm going to have to get a restraining order. And then he immediately just starts threatening my mom. So I call in a 202A in Kentucky to get him in a psychiatric hold because he seems mentally unstable.
Wow.
And then I'm met with reprisals. So my mother, they were letting me use like a credit card because I didn't have a lot of money at the time. And I was just trying to get back on my feet and start a career in the United States. I wasn't asking for anything, actually. They had offered these things. And I'm not I've been a working adult my entire life.
Yeah.
I just have to be in a position as anybody would, family. But they had conditioned like all the aid on getting me out of the country. They really wanted me to get out of the country. And I'm like, this is so weird. So I followed 202A immediately, credit cards cut off. They had, guaranteed access to money. Like, they were going to give me some money to fuck off into oblivion. And that was gone. They came and took a vehicle they're letting me use. And then I had like no money. And I'm like in an Airbnb at an address that they know. And I'm like, they're trying to kill me. Like, they're trying to kill me. So that was like the scariest moment of my life. And I'm like, okay, so I'm like really scared. And I'm like, what is going on? So we got to start with the facts. The facts are, my uncle's trial just went. I look at the media reports. The evidence ties back to them. Number three, I am being like, if you look at the pattern of behavior, I'm being met with reprisal for help-seeking behavior. In other words, I call the police, I'm met with reprisal. I access the court system, I'm met with reprisal. And in fact, I have some body cam footage of my mother talking to the police, and I talked about with her getting a firearm for self-defense, and they had tried to frame this as me being dangerous. But like, if you look at it, accessing the court system is my First Amendment right.
Yeah.
Threat to a lawsuit is my First Amendment right. And then buying a gun is my Second Amendment right. So in other words, for exercising my civil rights, I am treated as a threat.
Yeah.
And what's scary about it is that the police were actually helping them advance their agenda. And so as a journalist, all of this is going on. I'm like, I'm just going to like record all this. I'm just going to collect all the evidence. I'm not going to, I know the importance of documentation. So I'm like,
right. Yeah.
I'm like essentially under siege now.
Mm-hmm.
And my father, he gets out of the psych ward. He gives me access to the vehicle again. Cause I talked to some of my extended family, and I posted on Facebook. I was like, my family's trying to kill me because they're trying to hide criminal activity. So, I knew exactly what would happen is that they would say, oh, they give stuff back and be like, he's overreacting. Well, in a situation like this, you'd rather be embarrassed than dead.
Amen. Amen.
So this happens.
Mm-hmm.
It happens just like I think. They're like, oh, he's overreacting. And like, I take the money, I get the car, and I go right to the task force investigating my uncle. I'm like, this isn't going to shut me up, but I know my life is in danger. So I talked to Detective Michael Rowland and Detective Brandon Vance.
Okay.
And essentially, I mean, I posted the email on Twitter, or on X, rather. Sorry. Detective Vance had sent me, but they indicated that they had felony level evidence on my father, and that they chose not to prosecute. And that was the decision of Commonwealth's attorney, Michelle Snodgrass, at the time. Mm-hmm. So they're like, okay, well, with whatever happened to you, go to Boone County. I go to Boone County, as any person would. And we're about to get the interview footage from that. Actually, I'll get into some of the complex situation with that, but my interview with the police we're about to obtain. Wow. So I go there and record just like anybody would. I first reported the abuse against my sister because I don't really even know what happened to her, because the abuse that we went through, it was like, Detective Vance described what happened to my uncle's child bride, which has been reported in the media, but he described it as brainwashing. He described it as brainwashing, and the same thing happened to my sister and to me. So my main concern at that juncture, I guess this was like the end of July of last year. I was like, I just need to help my sister get out of there.
Yeah.
And then 2 days later, I'm like, they told me in Boone County, Officer Hebner, she told me, we need a victim statement. I was like, well, there's no way she's going to give a statement because she's under duress at their house. So I gave a statement on my own behalf and said, listen, I was like tortured by my father and blah, blah, blah. And I talked to a detective named Justine Bates. And Detective Bates seemed nice at the time, like she was going to help me and we were on the same team. And I told her, I'm quite familiar with investigative theory. I know about psychology. Like, here's what he's going to do. I basically predicted my father's behavior before he even acted. I was like, he's a narcissistic personality disorder with a mixture of ASPD. He's going to use the classic Darvo. He's going to say, my son's drug addict, mentally ill, whatever. Like, I never abused him, but he's crazy, blah, blah, blah. And then he's going to play, oh, I'm the fucking victim. It's the classic thing, but that's actually an indicator of guilt if you're not like illiterate with psychology and investigative theory. So I told her before that happened. And then I was sending emails to Detective Vance and Detective Bates. I'm getting deeper into my investigation. I'm finding like all kinds of evidence. Well, most at that time it was just witness testimony, but I'm talking to a lot of people in the community, and they're like, yeah, you guys were like under siege as kids. And, I had a lot of people willing to testify and stuff. And I'm thinking at the time that we're going to bust my sister out and get justice for myself. And I quickly realized that my messages were being ignored, that the police themselves were deeply implicated in the conspiracy. And then at the end of August, which is, I think I had mentioned in my piece of Substack, some of the things happened in Cincinnati, but essentially the police had leaked details of my criminal complaint to my father, two detectives who I have not identified. I'm certain FBI has by this point. And then I went back to Boone County to hand off evidence, and then they just told me to leave the country. Like, we're not going to help you. They're like, we think that you should drop your involvement. And here's the detective said, and I quote, "I've seen a lot of cases like this, and they all go nowhere." And he said, you should go. You should go to China. You should go to Czechoslovakia. That's his quote. You should go to Czechoslovakia. And then I was like, I'm an American citizen. Like, I have a right to be here. And he took my evidence and literally threw it in my face. And I was like, that's a bold move. So, then I get my father on the phone. I get him to confess to all these conspiracies. I record it. And I'm like, this is lethal. Once I find out what they're hiding, like, this is lethal.
Yeah.
So I started going to stress therapy for PTSD, and they recommended written exposure therapy. So I'm like writing my notebook, which is now actually a book that I intend to publish.
That's awesome.
300 pages of notes going through my So I'm going through it, trying to understand what happened to me from a psychological point of view. And I'm reading a lot of different people like Donald Winnicott, Carl Jung, Melanie Klein, obviously Sigmund Freud. And then I'm watching lectures by Professor Sam Vaknin, who I really recommend if you're ever interested in personality disorders. So I'm going through all this. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I would be. That would be really good. Yeah, I'll have to talk to you off.
I'm going through all of this stuff, and at around October, beginning of October, so I had just touched down in China September 28th. Beginning of October, I'm watching a Vaknin lecture, and he talks about like people with MPD and ASPD engaging in ritualistic behavior with their abuse. And I watched that, and I put that in my notebook, and I like wrote an essay about it, and I thought about stuff, and I'm like, okay, so like I have all this evidence in front of me. Like, my father, he always tells people, essentially his argument is everything was going good until 2011 when Brad went crazy. And I'm like, that is an oddly specific time.
Yeah.
And I looked at his employment. So he was a truck driver. We lived less than 10 minutes from the Stevensons. And then you got the 2011, that times puts him right on the timeline. And then I look at the recording, I go back to the news media reports about the psychological profile that the Vidocq Society made about the killer.
Wow.
And I go through the recording of my father talking, and I'm like, it's a match. Oh my gosh. Ritualistic behavior. The profile matches. I know what the murder weapon is. I think I know. They're not going to confirm this yet, but I think I know what it was. I have constructed the entire timeline leading up to it. So I run it through Bayesian theorem, which is what the FBI uses to find suspects. And it was 90% match. So at that point, I have been essentially exiled already. I have now credible allegations tied to a high profile homicide. And then I also don't even just have allegations connected to an organized criminal conspiracy, but I have like evidence, like confessions, and I'm like, oh man, this is like something I can't, how could I just sit on this?
Right.
What am I going to do? Just like, just sit on this information while there's Americans in danger? Seriously? No, I go to the U.S. Embassy and I told them, listen, like, I could apply for asylum in China right now. This would be bad for everybody.
Yeah.
And I was like very scared when I went there. I'm not going to lie, because I'm like, I can't even believe I'm in a situation where I have to go and essentially threaten the diplomatic incident at my own country's embassy to force a legitimate investigation. But they told me there was a formal evidence handover. So I handed them my report, statistical analysis, some other things, confessions. And I have to tell you, within weeks, it was like containment.
Wow.
And we cut contact. I was getting my mail intercepted. And people started resigning. I mean, Mike Helmig, the sheriff of Boone County, he announced his retirement 2 weeks after I encouraged his department to investigate the corruption that I found, and he announces his retirement. And then in my piece in Substack, you'll see about Mark Piepmeyer, and there was like 23 resignations in the Hamilton County Prosecuting Attorney's Office after I had approached the FBI. So there was an immediate effect on the ground.
What percentage is that, by the way? It's just mind-boggling.
I did the math. That was 20% of the office.
Wow.
The 20% of the office resigned.
Wow.
The sheriff of Boone County announced his retirement. And well, here's the thing, by the way, I have to say about me talking about this. Now, some people familiar with law enforcement or something might say, well, you shouldn't be talking about this because it's a national security case. It's like, man, they would have given me a gag order,
Mm-hmm.
Also at the same time, I don't even believe a judge would grant a gag order because it would first of all require them to acknowledge an investigation, which so far they have not. It would require them to show that there's public interest when I'm the one investigating the crimes that clearly they refuse to investigate. And I don't think that there's any sort of legal precedent that would allow them to have a gag order. So I feel that, at this juncture, and the whole reason, by the way, that I'm speaking out now, why I did the Reddit AMA and stuff, is because I was already getting met with national security framing. In other words, at the local level, at least, they're starting to treat me like an enemy combatant. And I'm like, not going to have that.
Yeah.
So you need to, like, in a situation like this, especially with the rule of law so flimsy at the Department of Justice and FBI level today under this administration, it's really important to, like, set the narrative straight. I am not a traitor, okay? If I was a traitor, I would have taken my report to the Chinese government or something in October and said, hey, look at this. America can't handle it. I went to the embassy before I went to anybody because my interest is not notoriety or revolution. It's like, I'm just trying to keep my friends safe in my community.
Yep. Real quick, though, was your dad ever ex-Army or prison officer or LE, law enforcement?
Right. Sorry. So that is actually the reason my uncle, so I went through my uncle's criminal history, and there was many times where he should have been apprehended by law enforcement, and he was able to evade justice because my grandfather was the treasurer of the Campbell County Fraternal Order of Police. So he had exerted his influence for my uncle, and of course he did that for my father. We have my grandfather, well, actually both my grandfathers were law enforcement, my step grandfather and my grandfather. And both of them were really, like, high level people in the community. They were in the Masonic Lodge. My step grandfather was a philanthropist, which also ties back into the victim profile with the Stevenson murders. So basically it's that. And actually you can even go further back, because from what I've uncovered, or rather what I was told and what I've been able to piece together, my great-grandfather himself was actually a murderer from Tennessee who had fled to Newport, Kentucky, which at that time was running a criminal protection racket. The city of Newport was not honoring extradition treaties or extradition orders from the rest of the United States. They were covering up for murderers and criminals.
Wow.
So the whole reason my family even ended up in Newport, which seems highly plausible, is connections to criminal activity. And they've been deeply embedded in that. My uncle was a drug trafficker, in addition to the crimes that are publicized about him.
Okay.
And we uncovered at least one, but I'm certain there's more. But my uncle and my father almost certainly were involved in producing exploitative materials related to my sister and I. I mean, I remember this vividly, and we have now found at least one picture of that. So they're involved in some kind of organized criminal activity.
Yeah, I am very sorry. That it continues to happen. The things that you've uncovered have shown up a lot in Delphi. So you were talking about how once you got to China, you were still reporting back to the FBI and you wanted guarantees of safety. And did you
Yeah.
ever get those?
No, I didn't.
Yeah.
So in February, now the embassy here in Beijing was acting pretty much as a liaison to the FBI, and I sent them my timeline February 10th.
Okay.
And I mean, I will stand to be corrected here, but from what I'm seeing, my emails appear to have been filtered out from that point because I stopped getting the automatic email back. So it seems like they had put themselves into a position of plausible deniability from that point.
Okay.
And we actually just had an exchange, the embassy and I, a few days ago, which I had sent you some photos of. But there was an American Citizens Fair on, yesterday.
Yeah.
And on Friday, I was going to bring 2 reporters with me. We weren't going to flank them as press, but I just wanted witnesses there. I just wanted to hang out. And they basically said, I mean, to be fair, it's their own ground rules. They did say only American citizens, direct family, but they said like press is closed, your friends can't come, and you're basically not allowed to come as a journalist.
Mm-hmm.
And then they offered me a private meeting next Wednesday. I was like, I'm not going to go to that. Like, I'm not going to go to that.
No.
Behind closed doors. Come on, like.
Yeah. No,
I've
I
also
wouldn't.
filed a complaint with the United Nations Human Rights Council at the end of March because as I continued my investigation, the local authorities in Kentucky started to argue that I am not allowed to access public records because I am not currently located in Kentucky, which is like, if anybody knows anything about the law and domicile, that's blatantly illegal because like in the US, we have global tax filing, right? So if you have connections, let's say for me, I've only lived in Kentucky 29 years straight.
Mm-hmm.
I have to file taxes in Kentucky, even if I'm in China.
Oh, okay.
So for them to argue that, there's no precedent anywhere in the law to suggest that because I'm temporarily in China, that I am not allowed to access public records. So this is clearly them trying to conceal criminal activity. And like before that, I even said, and I did this on purpose. I said to them, I am investigating you as a criminal enterprise. I did that to establish motive. And when they reacted in that way, it was like, okay, well, you just broke the law with clear motive.
Yeah. Yeah. People are saying that you're very brave. This is what an American hero looks like, guys. Yeah. Yeah. Does he know where his dad was on the 13th of February, 2017? If you want to talk about it, you can.
I don't want to make any like serious allegations related to Delphi. I just know that this is a really sensitive case, and I've already been met with a lot of vitriol and containment strategies from law enforcement, it appears, when I subject. All I'll say is this. My father had mentioned to me directly over the phone knowledge of Delphi right after my uncle's arrest in 2020. And secondly, I have a photo of myself at home at the exact time of the Delphi murders. My father was not home. That's all I can say. There was another person who was at our home at around that time. I'm not going to say who that was, but I think both of us remember that he was not there.
Okay.
So
and you were younger too. You said you were like what, 15 at that time? 12 to 15? Okay,
in
15.
2011. So I
in
was
2011. Okay.
21 during
Oh,
the
okay.
2021.
Yeah.
During the Delphi murders. So he, from what I remember, I have a photo, like he's not there. He wasn't there.
Okay.
That's all I know. He mentioned it. From what I've seen of the crime scene drawing, it would appear that it matches his psychological profile.
Okay.
I've already spoken to the authorities about this. I have given all the analysis that I can. It is now their job to handle this. I am not a law enforcement agent. I have tried to cooperate.
Yeah, you have. Above and beyond.
Very far above and beyond. I think that I'm the citizen that every country claims to want, and yet I find myself in constructive exile for surviving.
Yep. And that's classic. But what really was it about the Stevensons that, so you said that your dad mentioned something about 2011 and you're
Yeah.
like, oh, what happened in 2011? How did you think, how did you know to like think about perhaps it was
You
a
know,
murder?
that is, well, okay, first of all, like the moves that he made against me last year, like
Hmm.
isolating me, putting me under siege. I'm like, my first thought, I remember sitting in a bathtub and I was just like sweating bullets. And I was like, oh my God, oh my God. Oh my God.
Yeah.
And my first thought was like, he's done this before. He has, because this is so premeditated. Like he has
Yeah.
premeditatedly killed somebody before. There's
Yeah.
like, that was my basic hunch. But here's something that's really fascinating. And this comes from family systems theory and also Jungian psychology. Now, this is not admissible in court, but it is acknowledged part of human psychology that when you're around a person, you, especially like a violent offender, you start to unconsciously absorb some of their traits. It's really common for people who are abused, and in that kind of like Stockholm syndrome to like take on
Mhm.
characteristics of their abuser. So um, I had pretty much realized he's killed somebody before. But at the same time, also, I remember now that I used to have a recurring dream, my late teens, of killing an older couple in the early morning hours in Kentucky. On I think I remember driving in Donaldson Road, and the only thing, like, what was really interesting about those dreams was that it was never about the murders. It was like the anxiety of knowing that I killed someone and then trying to evade the
Oh,
law. And I was like,
wow.
I would always ask myself, why do I have these dreams?
Right.
But then when I put it all together, and it was like, okay, that makes sense. I had kind of unconsciously absorbed
So
this
you
from my
think, okay, you think your dad kind of projected that energy?
what he was doing when he said that I became violent and crazy in 2011. He was actively projecting. He used to tell me from 2011 on, "Oh, you're violent, you're crazy, you could be a murderer," and I was like a 15-year-old kid, like, "What the fuck are you talking about?"
Right, right.
You're like a kid, you can't like resist that, so you just kind of got to take it on the chin. And in fact, I tried to get law enforcement involved and help me when I was a kid, and they pretty much told me like, "Well, nothing we can do for you, man. You just got to put your head down till you're 18 and move out."
Yeah, and that's because, you were saying that your grandpa was law enforcement. So
Right.
there was kind of a brotherhood there. And that's why a lot of these things got pushed under the rug, so to speak. Um,
Yeah, it's a pattern. Like, with my investigation, I found like didn't just happen once, didn't just happen twice. It happens like every
yeah.
time, and it's a
Yep.
pattern. You can map it. You can
Mhm.
predict it with such consistency that it's not random. You see, because they always thrive on saying, "Oh, it's just random bad apples." Blah blah. I'm like, no, it's not a bad apple. It's the entire system,
Yeah.
and it's like, where did it come from? That's why I did the historical analysis, because we've been running a criminal protection racket for like 100 uninterrupted years, and deeply embedded within cultural history.
Hmm.
That's why it's happening now.
Yeah. Well, and so your dad was a trucker. Um, you know, do you think that being a trucker can help with trafficking things? Um, there are a lot of like, rumors and speculation in Delphi of a lot of truckers being involved, a lot of people involved in transporting things.
So my dad he was only a short haul truck driver.
Okay.
He
Yep.
didn't do long haul, but he knew these people, of course.
Mhm. Mhm.
Um,
Yep.
I don't have any information. Well, I do have some information, but I don't have evidence. Rather, I have
Right.
evidence tied to
Yeah.
this. I
Well,
Yeah.
and the evidence that you do have, you know, that is an ongoing investigation. So, um, it's, you know, can't necessarily be talked about, but I mean, you do sound hopeful for the future. Is that correct?
Um,
No pressure. No pressure.
I am cautiously optimistic because
Yeah.
I mean, I've lived in countries before where they've dealt with similar things. I think that what we're living through right now, at least in Northern Kentucky, is very similar to what happened in Czechoslovakia in the 1980s.
Oh,
A lot of people I know, I think that there's like a general consensus amongst people around our age in the U.S. that's like something needs to change, and you've got like the far left people like we need to have a Marxist-Leninist revolution, and we got to do this and that. Like the United States is like really well equipped for what you're talking about, but what they
yeah.
are not equipped for is what happened in the Eastern Bloc. And I think that what's happening in our country is much more similar to the degeneration of the Soviet Union, like where
Interesting.
truth like just cannot penetrate the inner circles. And when you lose truth, like you lose your government, like you're not able to maintain a society when you cannot interact with truth and you cannot recognize what is a fact and what is a lie,
Mm-hmm.
The entire situation that happened last year with my family and I was like the police just couldn't understand what's fact and what's fiction. And because of that, now we have a national security crisis.
Mm-hmm.
And when we can't even solve murders because the police don't even know like
Right.
up and down, we don't have a society.
Right.
And I'm really inspired by Václav Havel, who was the first president of the Czech Republic or Free Czechoslovakia, because
Okay.
during his dissident era, Charter 77 and so on, leading up to the Velvet Revolution, he was starting like, and this happened also in Poland with Benda and the beginning of the Solidarity movement, but they started what are called parallel authority.
Okay.
You just stop believing.
Yeah.
You just stop giving it oxygen. It's like if they can't solve murders, then like what is going on? And
Yeah.
so I'm not telling people to go revolt against the police or go like start an armed insurrection. In fact, this situation in Cincinnati with Ryan Hinton, like Mr. Hinton, what happened with his situation is a statistical inevitability of what's happening in that area. When you are not able to render justice, people got to take it in their own hands.
Yeah.
However, again, the state is very well equipped to deal with those kinds of situations. That's why I'm telling people, and why we started Northern Kentucky Truth and Accountability Project. It's like, just stop recognizing them. Don't give them air. Don't acknowledge them. I mean, we had a situation at the beginning of this month where we had simply sought public records related to my investigation, and then they went after the son of this woman who started to seek records, and that immediately triggered like elected officials to publicly defect. This is a classic regime legitimacy spiral.
Okay.
They can't deal with that.
Yeah.
They don't have, like the FBI doesn't even have a playbook to deal with that. I mean, I think the best they could try is like soft disruption tactics by like smearing me. I'm just the messenger, man. I'm not the message.
Right. Right.
You can tell you anything you want about me. It doesn't change the facts as they exist,
Right. Exactly. So true. So well said.
This is what I'm telling people now. It's like, and I'll be writing a follow-up essay related to my manifesto more into this. But basically, like when I talk about the section about withdrawing consent from corruption, really what we need to do, I think, is to start like parallel civic structures to say, like, man, if the police aren't investigating, we got to investigate.
Yep.
If the DOJ is cutting its public integrity division and it can't prosecute corruption, we have to investigate corruption.
Exactly.
And yeah, I mean, if the psychiatrists are just going to label every dissenting opinion mentally ill, we have to kind of just stop. And that's how the Velvet Revolution happened. That's how all the Eastern Bloc transitions of power happened. I think that's the inevitability. When I went on the AMA, by the way, and read it, I was talking to national security analysts. I'm telling you, like, it's going to be like a collapse of the regime unless you intervene. You have to do what's right.
Okay.
I'm not prescribing anything. I'm talking about an inevitability, because I also have to say, I am not the only person that is talking about this in Kentucky. There's many independent people talking about it. I just happen to be the one who's organizing it effectively because I know I have a lot of evidence and kind of like ability to push it through.
Yeah.
But like, you can't keep truth down. Truth just, like, it happens. It just is. It's inevitable. It emerges.
Right. Right. Yeah. So there was a recent murder suicide in, looks like, Florence, Kentucky. I believe on was it the 6th of May, guys? Was it the 6th? I can't remember for sure, but it was kind of I think both of them were 60 years old, the Sextons, and not much has come out about it, guys. So, I mean, it was just interesting because there is a clip of a former law enforcement detective who's looking into it. It was interesting. I think that's something to keep our eyes on. But yeah, there's so many good points in that. And like, this is one thing that Brad does really well too, guys. I mean, you do a lot of things very well. He's a great writer, and I would like to, put the link to your document, your manifesto, in the description for the video, if that's okay, as well as your Substack, because he's an excellent writer, guys, and he does a lot of this I love the way that you apply philosophy to things. Like the falling of the Soviet Union it's so fantastic. I kind of want you to go into that a little bit, but only if you have time, and only if you don't want to cover anything else. I would love to hear that too. Yeah, you
That's
guys will
fair.
love reading it, by the way. So
I can go into that if you'd like.
yeah.
Whatever you want to talk about.
Well, I mean, it's up to you, but I also did do, let me see if I can pull it up. Technology is not my forte. Okay, so I did kind of summarize things for people about your manifesto, but I think people would really benefit from going and reading it.
Yeah.
Slightly smitten. Yeah, I love philosophy. I love a good quote, and the first 10 pages of this document are like it's heaven. It's just heaven. There's so many great quotes in there. Yeah, you remind me of me 10 years earlier. So, not that I'm smitten with myself, guys. I'm just saying yeah, but it's a very good read. It is a long read. It's 104 pages, but yeah. But he does talk about, all of the people that you've had the chance to research and look into, and like very sad cases, very awful cases, and you've also had the insight to. Alex is smitten too, by the way. But yeah, read his manifesto, guys. I'm serious. If you get the chance, it's, even if you like, you don't have to sit down and read it all in one go, but it's really moving, actually. It's interesting to hear somebody so hopeful when when you get stuck on Delphi, there's not much hope. So, but anyway, you do offer excellent solutions for basically how to do, like what you said, basically creating like some sort of overseeing committee or group of people that come together that are just regular citizens. And
Yeah.
yeah.
I'm going to be doing some more reporting on this, because I had intentionally designed the manifesto to be what Havel and Bando would call pre-political. In other words, not about Republican or Democrat, libertarian, Marxist, or whatever. I mean, I quote Engels, but only insofar as it's like useful to understand historical analysis, but I don't go into like, hey guys, here we got to seize the means of production, and we got to like repress the capitalist dog. It's like, no, we got to get back to basics, humanity. We have to engage in the pre-political. And when I was in Cincinnati last year and also in Northern Kentucky, I saw people are doing this naturally. One example I have is like, I had a football in my hand and I was throwing it with my cousin, and we just had like a bunch of people come up and say, hey, can I throw that with you? People in America just like, they miss that.
Yeah.
And we have a community garden out in I forget what the neighborhood is, but it's up in Cincinnati, and I was going there a lot. And it's like just that thing, just getting together and going back to the earth and planting some crops and flowers and getting together and doing some poetry readings in the forest. And it's like,
that's awesome.
That's what people want. And that's where you begin. And so with Václav Havel, the Velvet Revolution, and Charter 77 was outlawed by the Czechoslovak communist regime, but it was like in reaction to the government arresting a rock band called the People, or what is it, the Plastic People of Earth or something like that, Plastic People of the World. It was like so overtly authoritarian that like all these people just signed a declaration saying like, we're not a party, we just want the government to recognize our human rights. And I think that's kind of like, this is like where we're at now in America.
Yeah.
Northern Kentucky, but many parts of America, it's like, we don't want like revolution or anything like that. We just want to get together and like live in the fucking truth. In the truth. And that's what I'm calling for. And that's what I'm hopeful for. So, and here's why it's like, I began my preface in the manifesto talking about my own personal like death and resurrection. It's like, I made it through. Like, I'm on the other side. I'm in China. They can't get me here. And I have the federal government on its back foot. Like, I literally have the entire federal apparatus with trillions in funding on its back foot. We are in actual negotiations about like how to proceed. And I'm just one person. And I just like, this is the power of the individual. You can do this too. Like anybody in their community can do this if they have the tools. So I'm just hoping to provide like a blueprint for people. If you want to subscribe to my Substack, I'll be going more into analysis of not only organized crime and corruption in my community, especially because this is where I have the leads and can name names and investigate. But like, I want to go into the idea of the pre-political, the parallel civic authority, and how to get back to just the basics. Reality, engaging in good faith with our neighbors. And it does bring me hope. I mean, I see hope around the world, not in America. I tell you, every time I go back there, I see it kind of degenerates even worse. But I've seen hope around the world, and it usually comes after a very difficult period. China today are cool, but they went through the Cultural Revolution about what, one and a half generations ago. That was very, very well. Also, Tiananmen Square, 1990s, very traumatic experiences. The Velvet Revolution in the Czech Republic, when I lived there. Brazil had its military dictatorship, and people in these places after the collision event are really happy. And I think that we're in a bad spot in America, but I do see that soon, like, people will get back to those basics and say, hey, that was crazy. But
yeah, that's true.
Let's never do that again.
Yeah, exactly. And I do feel like the people in Delphi, the people that are here tonight who are, loving this, we're probably going to have you back on if you want to, but, we've kind of had to band together and create our own little community to get the little bit of stuff that we've managed to get done, whether that's actually just getting out more truth. So, thank you, Alex. Alex posted the link too, and we'll have it in the video description too, guys, and your Substack too, because it's really, it's nice to get the updates, So, let's see.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's all do it together. Let's.
Yeah.
Parallel civic authorities here, band together.
Right.
I'm the kind of person though, like, I don't try to like box people in or say, oh, you have to listen to me, whatever. It's like, you can listen to me or not.
Right.
I'm just here to share what I know and offer a path as I see it forward. I know that the title of the manifesto is very like,
Yeah.
but it's like when
Yeah.
when you have a clear idea of the past to what led to the present, pretty much that's like the only way that you can chart the future. And it appears to be that I'm the only person in my community that is able to articulate what was, what is now, and where to go from there based on that.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
It's a pretty bold declaration, but when you're in times like this, you need bold action.
Right. Yeah,
And
you do.
we're like actively resisting our government, like in Boone County right now. Like they are making very aggressive moves against me, against other people, and we're like not having it.
And very recently too, guys.
I mean, it's still happening, ongoing situation.
Yeah. So it's a real life situation. And then, it does help put in perspective why so many people are very hesitant to come forward in Indiana. I mean, we knew that for a long time, but for whatever reason, like Delphi has definitely been infiltrated by a lot of people, and most of them.
Well, the moderators of the subreddit, for example, they're definitely associated with law enforcement. Like, there's no doubt.
Yes. Yeah, I do believe. Like Reddit, I can't. Pretty much nothing that I post gets actually published because they, it's so rigged. Mm-hmm.
There was, you must have seen the Reddit AMA that I did, right?
I did. Yeah, I did.
So that was very like that. I did that as a strategic gambit, and I didn't want to evidence dump. Everybody's like, "Oh, evidence dump now." I'm like, "No, man, it's not how it works."
Yeah.
But there was one guy on there. He's like, "I've been in law enforcement for 22 years. What you're saying is impossible." And then I posted the X thread. He must have seen it. He deleted his entire fucking Reddit account because he knows that if like this goes into discovery, like he's done.
Right.
His career's over. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And like I keep receipts.
That's good.
There was one woman on there. She's like, "See a fucking therapist," and I was like, "Write your name." And then she put her legal name, birthday, and her city. I was like, it's a bold move, man.
Yeah.
Like, and then there was apparently somebody who went to high school with me. They said, "I know you, but you don't know me." It's like, what do you fucking mean by that?
Yeah, that sucks.
It's like,
yeah.
I know you, but you don't know me. It's like what that really means is I have heard things about you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is hearsay, which means it's like not court admissible. So you're not speaking facts. That's not a fact.
Mm-hmm.
It's like conjecture.
You're right.
I have to deal with people now in just like these very legalistic terms, unfortunately. I've had to become my own attorney, my own counterintelligence officer.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you know a lot about a lot of things. And hey, Alex is here. Do you want me to bring him up?
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah.
What's up, man? I had to come and say hi. How you doing?
Yeah. What's up, dude?
Not much, man. Yeah, me and him we've had a lot of crazy times together, man. Party times and
yes.
So
yeah.
This Alex, like I seen him on YouTube, and actually it was his research into like connecting Delphi and Stevenson's really, like, if it wasn't for that, I wouldn't have put the 2 and 2 together, to be honest. But I reached out to Alex anonymously on Reddit, and I was kind of like teasing some stuff, right? And
yep.
Yeah, I was drunk as hell, man. I lost it on him. I thought he was a perpetrator.
I call immediately,
we made it pretty fast.
Like, there's this fucking dude, Alex Voorhees, and he's like,
yeah, that's a good one.
He's on some shit.
Yeah, it got pretty lit. It was a pretty fun time. Yeah, we made up, and then we went through the signal rounds, and then it built up to his archive. That was after the AMA. That was pretty sick. That AMA went crazy, dude. That thing went viral.
It went viral. It did.
That was like 800,000 views, man. And
yeah.
it down originally, they're like, we think this is disinformation. I showed them my full timeline, and they were like, oh fuck.
Did they take it? They took it down or what?
They took it down. They put it back up after they saw my timeline.
Oh man, dude. Yeah, that's legit. That was legit.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah. I gotta thank you for getting me back on Signal. I like that app actually. It's very it's way better than it used to be as far as like not being glitchy and stuff, like video chat. But yeah, it's pretty sick, man. But yeah, that manifesto, man. When you had all the research together and stuff, how long did it take you to put it together?
I solved like the core crimes in October, and then like immediately after that, I was like, well, there's a corruption angle here. I don't fucking trust the FBI to like investigate this properly, so I'm gonna just like keep it up myself. So I continued doing that, and then like I took a break in December because like when I saw all the resignations, I was like, oh my god, I'm right, dude. My fucking dad's a murderer. Like, oh my god. So I got really right. I got really fucking emotional. I took a break for a little bit, and then I think at mid-February, I was like, I need to write like a political theory about what's happening because this is a really serious moment. And I started writing it in February. Yeah, it took me like 3 months.
Yeah. It's not bad. I do have a question as to what software did you use for, well, if you're comfortable giving out, to make that PDF, because it came out pretty clean, man. Hey, what's up, Chickpea?
What's Chickpea's here?
See it? Yeah.
Oh, you mean like the title image?
No, not the title image. Like, did you use like Adobe Acrobat or something, or?
I just used Google Docs, saved it.
Oh damn, it came out clean as hell. Because I use some websites to make PDFs, and it comes out all compressed and shit, especially like the cover image and shit. So it came out really clean. I was like, god damn, dude. And I felt like I was at a library, dude. When I went to archive, it had a library, like a college library feel to it, you know. And me and my friend Sage, we know all about that because we're everywhere. But like that shit was crazy, dude.
I'm not planning on putting it out until like everything kind of blew up publicly. But I released the manifestos because I approached Chinese authorities formally on May 6th. I didn't want to be accused of like using this situation as leverage against the U.S. government.
Right.
You know, so I had dropped the manifesto first to the American people, like on.
Smart.
I mean, I don't have a huge platform.
The Chinese thing. Did you have to warn them so they wouldn't arrest you, basically?
No, I just warned them because if the police are like making desperate moves like this, going after my connections, like what's to stop them from trying to do some shit in China if they're like that desperate?
And were the Chinese like what was their take on it as far as being interested in
they were just like
at all?
They could not even believe it because like I sent a formal letter. I was like, if anything happens to me, please investigate this as an act of state terror. And they were just like, they were like floored. They could not believe it.
God damn, man. Yeah, it's crazy. Well, as far as like any cult references or ritualistic stuff or whatever that gets brought up, or even trafficking, how do they feel about it? Does it even raise alarm with them, or do they not? Like what were some, if you could say like any of the buzzwords that caught their attention?
Go into everything with them because it's like everything is so well documented. I just like handed them my manifesto.
Oh yeah, I see what you mean.
And the timeline, I'm just like, just look at it. Like I don't need to explain it.
Yeah, that's crazy, man.
But unfortunately, though, like I think need to have like a pretty deep understanding of legal theory and intelligence to see like what's unfolding in the timeline.
Yeah, for sure.
Because
there's
like
a lot of it.
Understanding like the theory behind RICO and understanding like regime trajectory, like this is like really crazy. Most people aren't like systems thinkers. They like see isolated incidents. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But what about that councilwoman? Anything pan out with that after? I saw her tag you in something, and then I know it was about the request. Did anything else further happen from that?
Well, we're just we're just having some backdoor discussions about that, but I would
That's
say
pretty good.
I think
that shit was crazy, dude. I can't believe that shit. I could not believe it, bro.
I couldn't believe like that they would make such a bold move like that. And we saw the officer who we believe was the main conspirator. He was on television, and we like noted that his demeanor was like he's just like not confident at this point with what he's doing. You know, like they're actively demoralized. I'm using psychological warfare on these people all the time.
Yeah.
Behind the scenes.
Yeah.
Trying to demoralize
man.
You kind of have to.
We're trying to negotiate like terms of surrender at some point. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy, man.
Do you guys want to kind of talk about that a little bit? Because I mean, that was out, wasn't it? It's like been in the public.
It was like a week ago. I'll tell from my perspective real quick. Yeah, I saw like some Florence city councilwoman like tagging him in some shit. And I was like, what the fuck? That shit was crazy, but it was about freedom of information, whatever request. And she was complaining the cops weren't doing what they were supposed to. They were being weird. Something like that. And then
we had a woman file an information request as part of our like truth commission that we're doing, and we found like as soon as she sent the request, the police in Northern Kentucky started to surveil her son, and he feared for his life. Oh
yeah, I remember that. Yeah,
it's like absolutely wild. And then we had all like I'm not going to say how many people are in my committee, but there's quite a lot, to be honest with you. Many people, in fact, more than you'd think.
Yeah.
And as soon as this happened, I mean, the whole reason we did this, in addition to seeking accountability, is also have witnesses from when like this stuff pops off. And many people saw that, and it sparked an immediate reaction, a visceral reaction, to the point elected officials are starting to turn. And we're going to be having more soon. I mean, as it continues, more people are going to keep turning. And this is not like some intelligence operation. It's literally just like citizens getting together and like not having it, because that's super. I mean, it's super blatant. You can't just do that. And in addition, by the way, we had found not only like when we did the request that they retaliated, but we also found out that they had actually deleted the police report that I filed for my sister. So they're deleting evidence related to this case.
Yeah, that's fucking wild, dude.
Here's the thing, though. Yeah. If they delete the evidence, it doesn't mean that, like, first of all, like FBI could find this through metadata. They can easily find this stuff. But like, it shows intent, right? It shows active collaboration with the main suspects. So, I have the file number, the officer, and her badge number. How would it even make sense that I would have this and also have it in an email from a few days before, and then they're like, well, we just don't have it. This is not the first time. I found other officers deleting body cam related to this, particularly when the body cam incriminates themselves. I mean, I would have a conversation with an officer, and then like they would just say the dumbest shit to me, and I'd be like I wouldn't like. I had an officer say to me, said to my face, he said, "It's my job to take everything I hear at face value." And I was like, "It is not your job to take everything you hear at face value." Shit. He deleted that body cam afterward. Like, oh my God.
But you said your dad knew the Stevensons before, like way before, right? They passed, or from the Truckers Chapel or something like that.
I know that my father like definitely was. Like, we lived by Kentucky 18, and he definitely
he knew of them or something, possibly.
For sure, like, because he was a trucker.
Damn. Well, like, did you know of them back then? Did you know? I mean, you for sure heard of them after they passed, but did you hear about them before they passed?
I didn't really hear about them after they passed. I think we had either an information blackout in my home after that, or like it was mostly like my dad was always by the TV, and I just didn't want to be around him, so I didn't watch TV. So I didn't know about it.
Yeah.
But we drove through their neighborhood a lot, me and him together, and he used to stalk people's neighborhoods a lot with me.
Yeah. Dude, I won't lie, dude. That recent murder-suicide that happened, it was like all the suspicious death
Is this
around
what
Delphi
happened?
like came
Or
over, you know?
did this happen? You talking about the
Like
one
in
that
the
happened?
last week. In the last week, I think.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
it was the one that was at the Amazon facility, like the worker, or
no,
No, it wasn't a home. It was a couple, but
that's
it,
another
you
one
know,
though.
yeah, it was weird, dude.
this is in Northern
it
Kentucky.
it was in Florence, dude. I'll send you I think I sent you the video, but it had MK Ultra vibes again, dude. You know what I mean? It had the organized crime vibes to it. So yeah, you know how those go, but it
We
was
were
just
tall
weird,
police.
dude. Yeah, and the guy that said the video, he was in the video about it. He was talking about he mentioned Stevenson's too, and I was like, this is a trip, dude. It just tripped me the fuck out. But I'm gonna go out on a hunch, dude. I think it's because all the shit that's been going on, dude, with your stuff and
Yeah,
like councilwoman, and you know what I'm talking about, bro. All that
There's a
type of stuff. So
now, like the panic from people locally. I mean, they're trying to say, "Oh, he's a communist. He's a spy." He's like I mean, they first of all started saying that I'm mentally ill, and then when that didn't work, then they started saying I'm a national security threat, and now they're starting to intimidate people. It's like the panic is so real. Like people don't behave like that when they're innocent. If
right,
yeah,
it wasn't true, they simply just ignore it.
right.
And that's why I'm telling people, like on Reddit, like just email Detective Cox and ask him, is he the suspect or is he not? That's all you need to do. I mean, you don't got to sit here and ridicule me. Just ask the detective. You know what I
Right.
mean? Because if he
yeah,
says yes, well, he confirmed an investigation. If he says no, he just perjured himself. So he's in a bind, and they can't simply answer the question. So they're doing all the deflections and intimidation and so on. And because people naturally can't understand systems theory, they don't realize all of them are fucking implicated. If you look at my,
yeah.
and I swear it's like I integrity tested every single level. This is like a counterintelligence strategy that I deployed against the local government, which is my right, by the way. I'm allowed to do that. I'm allowed to integrity test my public officials, and they all failed. And now,
Has there been any other blowback in China, like besides you besides you reaching out to police or going to the embassy, stuff like that? Has there been any weird shit going on in China?
no, man, it's like pretty chill here, actually.
Hell yeah! All right, that's good to hear, man.
I'm going to the gym like every day and reading books, man, and
That's a good deal, man.
That's awesome. Yeah.
that in the preface to my manifesto. I'm just sharpening
Yeah,
up.
I do have a very fucking important question. Do they have Sky Vodka in China?
They probably do.
Hell
Correct.
yeah, man. Yeah, that's what I'm
You
talking
guys, if you
about.
want to come out here and
Look
visit, you're welcome because I mean, I got some friends coming out here soon. Like, I'm not leaving China until there's some movement. But like, if you guys want to come out here and visit, and
Yeah. We'll go, Adrian,
thank
and
you.
we'll bring Sage with us. We'll do some counter intel. Fucking not on you, Brad, but on China. Not against China, but like just the vibes. That shit's crazy.
I have some other here to come just hang out and maybe get work and join me.
Hell
in my
yeah, man.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Dude, I've been saying for years, I said all this Chinese shit is gonna come to Delphi and Stevenson's eventually, and the Japanese shit already came, and then it went to China. So like, I don't know where else it's gonna go next, but it's pretty sick, bro.
Well, this is that was like why I did the AMA. By the way, I thought that was like the natural consequence of everything that's happening now is they were going to try to pull in a national security angle because they were already doing it. There's a representative there's a representative like named TJ Roberts. I went to high school with this fucking guy. I was investigating him because like I was investigating everyone. Like everyone is official. I'm like, all right, I'm gonna see what's up with everybody. So I email him, say, hey man, like the local police are in some shit. I think that you should do something about it, or maybe just distance yourself. So he got the email. He didn't do anything. Then he leaked a public officials. He leaked public officials home address on Facebook. And I'm like, dude. So I write an opinion column in the local media, linking KY. He sends a letter of intent, right, calling me a Chinese communist activist, asking for a retraction, a public apology, and a payment out of court.
Damn.
Then I started to invest. After that, I'm like, well, not like after the incident, like me putting it in the local media and then some of the blowback, I started investigating more, and I learned a few things. And I simply asked him on Twitter, like I had heard, and I don't want to make a clear accusation here, but I just had heard that he was pulled over for a DUI, and instead of being arrested, he got, taken home, no problem. And I simply asked him on Twitter, hey, did you get pulled over for a DUI, and then did you get driven home by the cops? Simple, fair question. He jumps into Twitter and calls me a Chinese communist agent and a pedophile.
Damn.
It's always the pedophile.
Yo, what the fuck? So I go in the DMs with him, and he's just like saying all this shit. And then I email his lawyer. I'm like, dude, you can't do that. And he's like, well, give me evidence showing that it's not true. And I'm like, negative? What do you fucking mean? Like,
yeah.
You want me to?
Yeah.
How do I send you evidence that I am not a pedophile? That's not how it works.
We're gonna have to delete our Reddit accounts together.
That's not how it works, man.
Yeah, that's just a trip, dude. Yeah. I'm curious. I've been keeping my eye on that situation because, like I said, when I saw that murder-suicide hit in the last week, I knew the vibes shifted. I could just tell, dude, where the pressure's going, and it went to Stevenson's right now. I'm like, oh shit, bro, and that was something different, man. I did have something similar, not as fucking crazy as that, happen about a year ago. No, yeah, about a year ago. I tipped in some guy. Me and somebody else did, and he was dead within a month. And it was so fucking suspicious, dude. And he was a truck driver as well. And that was a weird one, man. But there usually on Stevenson's there isn't anything like that. It's a much quieter case. So for that to be happening recently, I'm like, oh shit, dude. So I've just been watching that. I've been watching that shit. So we'll see what happens, We'll see what happens. But it was pretty cool to see that councilwoman repost that stuff. That was a good thing, But yeah, that shit's a trip, man. But I'm gonna dip out, man. It was good talking to you, Brad. I'm glad I got to hop on, and thank you, Adrian. And
good to see you, Alex.
Hell yeah, man. You have a good one, Brad. All right, later.
Bye.
Peace out.
Yeah, so yeah. But anything else you want to cover? I tried to bring up the TJ Roberts or whatever his name is.
Yeah, this guy is just like terminally unserious.
Yeah.
What is also interesting is the in Pendleton County, the arrest of what's his name, Sebastian Ernst. There's going to be a federal lawsuit coming with that one soon, but generally, I mean, the lawyers told the police don't arrest him, and they did it anyways. And essentially, what we're seeing is like the I don't even want to say the formation, but rather the unraveling of a mafioso state that's been operating for generations in northern Kentucky, and it's just because it's becoming so overt, like you can't hide it anymore. I also see Michael Howard there. This case, again, I'm not trying to excuse what this man is alleged of doing, but this arrest happened just around the time that Boone County started feeling the heat related to the things I was investigating. So they have a 5-day investigation, and they charge a guy with 40 counts, which doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
How are you supposed to substantiate 40 individual counts of child sexual abuse and sodomy in a 5-day investigation? So we had to basically accuse them of abandoning due process of law, and then after that accusation, they respond exactly as you would imagine somebody would in that position, which is to course correct the complete opposite direction, proving the thesis that you have abandoned procedural process, And we caught them in the act of doing that with Michael Howard's case, I believe.
Yeah. Well, they kind of did a similar thing with Keegan Kline too. I mean, the Anthony Shots account with whatever was in the Dropbox or whatever. Actually, Alex would have been better to talk to about that kind of stuff because he actually, got police the passwords to it. But, there were a lot more people involved in that, and they buried it mostly on this one guy, Keegan Kline. So, yeah.
It's like we're seeing that, like, I can say this firsthand with my uncle's case.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, there was a very clear RICO dynamic with Williams' case, and they just sort of like, we're not going to touch it. Well, if you look at the outcome of that, like, what was the outcome of not pursuing the racketeering angle, and what was the outcome of not disclosing the fact that my grandfather was the Campbell County treasurer of the Fraternal Order of Police? The outcome was that the victims were not allowed civil recourse, right? They weren't allowed to pursue a federal law civil suit in federal court against the police themselves.
Wow.
Because Michelle Snodgrass absolutely lied when she said, I don't know if the police were aware of Williams' victim who lived with him at the time. There is no fucking universe in which the police did not know when his father is the Fraternal Order of Police treasurer. Michelle Snodgrass was a journalist. She knows how the media works, and she knows how to, according to her own words and her own profile in the Cincinnati Enquirer, she knows how to work the media, and she's described as like a wordsmith who uses her words very precisely. What she did in that case, clear conflict of interest. The Tim Nolan case, she didn't, from my information, we had to get the Deputy Attorney General of Kentucky to prosecute that case because she had a conflict of interest. So she had another conflict of interest in Williams' case. She should have disclosed that, but now because she didn't, if the law is actually followed, she is on the road for prosecutorial misconduct and possibly conspiracy to commit racketeering. And I'm getting information related to my uncle's case, and they're stonewalling me and making up all these like legal arguments that are not grounded in facts or reality, and they have a clear motive. So I think that it's pretty much a wash for them in Campbell County and also in the city of Fort Thomas, particularly. And then also with Tim Nolan, I don't want to say anything that could put anybody in that case in danger. I can talk about my own family because the only person to be in danger is me, and I'm already in danger. So, but with Tim Nolan, again, there's another clear organized criminal aspect to Tim Nolan's case, and that was reflected in the fact that Robert Poole was later arrested, tied to the same ring, but they're doing it piecemeal instead of going after the systemic issue there. And you can see that in the reporting with Tim Nolan, they mentioned that like his victims were dehumanized because he would prey on women at drug court and be like, well, nobody's going to believe you because you're a drug addict. They've been trying to report his activities for decades.
I believe it.
And nobody believed him.
Delphi had Curtis Fouts, who was also a judge doing the exact same thing. So
that's really the issue here. And that is why, in my view, the federal government is on the back foot. They're in a defensive posture against me right now because they know that I cannot be co-opted. I can't be like, you can't do anything kinetic against me. I'm in China. That would be an attack on Chinese soil. I have no attack vectors. Like I don't have any dependents. I don't have any financial ties in the United States. I have no family now. I have complete narrative superiority. If they try to hack into any of my devices or something, I will find out immediately.
Oh, that's good.
I mean, it's like, it's over. It's over.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to just like lead to a resolution that, actually helps American citizens, not only just myself, but my kids being terrorized by these people. And we're in this awkward situation now with the embassy and I. They want to have a closed door meeting, and maybe I'll end up like Jamal Khashoggi. I mean, no.
Knock on wood. No.
I'm not going to go anywhere near there until they guarantee my rights.
Yeah, I would not. An
agreement, they have to abide by it under the Vienna Convention and under Chinese law, because if they don't, if they detain me there, then the Chinese could just they would have grounds to retaliate legally.
Yeah.
I have to know my bases here because this is like some really heavy duty stuff,
It is. It really is.
So, Adrian, I gotta get out of here. It was really nice
Okay.
talking.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I really appreciate it.
For everybody here, if you guys want to just support what I'm doing, like follow me on X. You can reach out to Signal, subscribe to my Substack, and yeah, I'm available. Just chat with.
Is it okay to put those down in the video description too, like your Twitter and all of the the manifesto and everything?
Yeah, no problem.
Okay, cool, awesome. Well, thank you so much. Thank you.
No problem. See you later.
Okay, bye. Okay, guys, that was a lot. So, yeah, if you guys have any other questions, either ask them or leave them in the comments, because maybe he'll come back and answer them. Very interesting. Yeah. So, but I guess I can finish the rest of the presentation though, because this is what I encourage everybody to go read. It basically goes kind of through the history of corruption in Northern Kentucky, but then it also goes into what's going on currently, and then what the solution could be. So I also wanted to cover this too, because not everybody understands RICO. It's not Rico Suave. I'm sorry, guys. Shibby, it's not Rico Suave. RICO is actually it's the RICO Act, Racketeer Influenced and Corrupt Organizations Act. So basically, it was developed for organized crime. It allows prosecutors to target entire criminal enterprises, not just individual crimes. So, and racketeering is just it's a term that it applies to organized crime, where a person or a group engages in coordinated illegal schemes. So it's kind of like a business running operation. So whether to make money, to exert control, or evade justice. So it's like its own little business thing. So some of the crimes that fall under racketeering, and this is, I know you guys know all this stuff, but not, yeah. So some of the crimes that fall under racketeering include bribery. So the act of offering, giving, or receiving something of value to influence the actions of someone in a position of trust or power. Extortion, we've heard a lot about this, right? So the act of obtaining money, property, or favors through threats, intimidation, or coercion. And then blackmail is a type of extortion, but it's a type that specifically involves threatening to reveal damaging information unless demands are met. Fraud, which is the act of deceiving someone to gain money, goods, or advantage unlawfully. Money laundering, the process of disguising illegally obtained money to make it appear legal, right? Drug or human trafficking. We're all familiar with this. Illegal trades involving the smuggling and exploitation of drugs or people for profit, often through force, fraud, or coercion. Murder for hire is very, obvious. The act of paying or being paid to kill someone. I'm gonna exit out of this real quick. Bring this back up. Hopefully that continues playing. So yeah. Obstruction of justice, any act that interferes with the investigation, prosecution, or enforcement of laws, such as lying to authorities or destroying evidence. So, I mean, Mullen is a great culprit for that. Witness intimidation, the act of threatening or coercing a witness to prevent them from testifying truthfully or cooperating with legal authorities. So, racketeering isn't just about a single crime. It's a pattern of crimes connected, to a structured organization and all of this stuff. So racketeering, basically just like the business of a giant criminal or a, I don't know, somewhat decently sized organization of criminals. There's so many things. So in the manifesto too that Brad talks about, he talks about, he's looking at specific crimes in the immediate area. So, there's the murders of Bill and Peggy Stevenson in 2011. And then a year later to the day, there's the murder of Michelle Mockbee. And then these deaths, like death of Brooke Chance, the death of Samantha Ramsey, all of these things were, either Samantha was killed by the cops, Brooke was hit by somebody under the influence. A lot of the, Michael Pelly, too, was killed by the police. I'm trying to think. Yeah, well, those three, at least, like, the police definitely tried to cover their tracks with that, right? So, and then there's a lot of sex offender cases, too. And it basically goes all the way up through April of this year. So the false arrest of Sebastian Ernst, that he was the former Falmouth mayor. Falmouth, I think, is a little south and east to Florence. Hey, Dee Dee, hello. And I'm sorry if I didn't get to say hi to everybody. Hi, Nancy. Yeah, sorry if I didn't get to say hello. Oh, I have it in Talk Chat, too. Failing at life. Don't let my lyrics mislead you. Dabba Dabba Rico. Anyway, so, but yeah, so, the murders of Bill and Peggy Stevenson, we know that that is a very ritualistic appearing, right? Murder of Michelle Mockbee. Now, this was, so it was a year to the day after the Stevenson's murders, but this actually occurred in her workplace. She was a payroll admin at some sort of, I think it was like science of fishing or something that it had to do with science. And she was the admin of payroll. And this janitor, David Dooley, he was initially convicted for her murder in 2014, but it was overturned in 2017 due to withheld evidence, leading to a retrial in 2019. So, but then he was again found guilty and sentenced to 43 years in prison. So, Brad has it featured because there is great prosecutorial misconduct with this attorney, Linda Talley Smith, and she'll come up quite a bit. But yeah, so, and the thing that led to the retrial of this David Dooley was the failure to provide exculpatory evidence, which again, it sounds very familiar with what we're dealing with in Delphi. Now, Brooke Chance was killed by a Christy Vance. So even though there were eyewitnesses who, accurately described who hit Brooke with the car, no charges were filed. And there were family ties with the person that hit Brooke and law enforcement. So they definitely cover for themselves. That's for sure. So, and then in late April 2014, Samantha Ramsey was killed. She was shot by Boone County deputies. And The case was dismissed without a grand jury indictment, but key eyewitnesses were never interviewed. Discrepancies emerged between official accounts and available evidence, like body cam footage and witness testimony. And then the authorities settled pretty quickly with her family because it suggests a significant liability. So failure to reform within Boone County Sheriff's Department, that's just a given, right? And we see this over and over again too, guys, in Delphi. Just that, like, it's like a normal day. If they're not investigating something thoroughly, they're forgetting to get eyewitness testimonies, not interviewing everybody. And except that Carroll County doesn't like to settle because they don't like to part with their money. So there's that. And this is also something very familiar that comes up too. This conviction of Christopher Lieberman, which happens later in 2014. So he was convicted of multiple counts of child rape and sodomy against minors under 16, but he was only sentenced to probation and a $1,000 fine. So, of course, the victims' families were very outraged because it was a very grossly lenient, punishment. So, that same Commonwealth prosecuting attorney, Linda Talley Smith, she defended that decision to give this guy probation and a $1,000 fine. But it's exposing a pattern of judicial protectionism in northern Kentucky, where powerful or connected offenders face minimal consequences. And then, of course, we all recognize the murders of Abby and Libby. So, there's definitely behavioral and ideological overlaps with other ritual killings that we see, like in the Stevensons, perhaps even to Evansdale. But the girls were stage imposed, and there were symbolic elements left at the crime scene, whether that was the sticks placed over the girls or what was done with blood. So yeah, and missing clothing items. So yeah, there was likely digital grooming involved. I think we all pretty much agree with that. The fact that we so much of the phone stuff was not looked at or not even talked about, to me says a lot. So, they've been in contact with a fake online persona, Anthony Schatz, linked to a broader pattern of catfishing and exploitation. Oh no, I hope not. Don't let them make fun of you. Yeah, they are sucking. Okay, let me see. So, despite audio and video evidence, the investigation remained unsolved for years, raising questions about the handling of suspects and the influence of misinformation. And, I don't care what you say, Brad Holder is still way better suspect than Richard Allen ever was. Ron Logan, same thing. Even if they aren't the guys, it's like, why weren't they, looked into? Well, because, they've either got friends in high places or they're valuable in some sort of way. Who really knows, right? So then we have this crazy dude, this guy. I remember when this happened too. So, later in 2017, in August, there's the what is it called? Like Unite the Right thing that happens in Charlottesville, but people come to counter protest. And while people are counter protesting, this James Alex Fields Jr. Uses his car as a weapon and kills a woman. But I guess community members and students reportedly raised concerns about Field's violent ideologies. And of course, nothing was done. But it is difficult to get that kind of stuff looked at. Like, I remember when, God, who's the guy that shot up, yeah, thank you, Rhoda. That the Dark Knight, was it The Dark Knight Rises? Or I can't remember, but the movie theater guy was like a James, I can't remember. But, a lot of people came forward about him being very weird and acting weird before then and stuff too. But so, yeah, there were allegations that he had like definitely expressed extremist behavior. And then that Northern Kentucky suffers from a similar issue as, of course, Indiana, where they have a lot of white supremacist violence. And of course, that's, another systemic failure. But another, we've got Tim Nolan, who was a former judge, right? It's definitely flashing back to Fouts, right? Curtis Fouts. So Tim Nolan, he was convicted on the 3rd of May, 2018. He is a former judge involved in trafficking. So there was this alleged network and judicial and police protection of that network. He definitely exploited addicted sex workers, people struggling with addiction, and knowing that their credibility would be dismissed. And he was getting away with this for a long time too, by the way. So his crimes span decades, suggesting long-term institutional protection and a broader pattern of predation within positions of power. And there were a lot of people in the legal community that were onto this and knew better. So I would not be surprised if a very similar thing was going on in Carroll County or nearby counties, So, despite the case's severity, local and regional media downplayed its systemic implications. And of course, the system doesn't get attacked, just certain individuals. Like if it's just too much, if it's too loud, then they have to arrest an individual. And that guy takes the heat for all of it. But, it's not good because the system is still allowed to exist. So they failed to investigate possible co-conspirators in the legal and law enforcement communities. So on the 27th of June, 2020, or 2 years later, Michael Pelly is killed, but he's killed by deputies after a bar altercation. Allegedly, there was a called-in hit, quote unquote hit by a retired law enforcement officer. And it's very difficult to get more information on this, but so no charges were filed and the media was pretty silent, and there were eyewitness disputes of the official narrative describing Pelly's behavior as non-threatening and his death as sudden and unjustified. But Kentucky State Police took over, it's reminding us of ISP, took over the investigation, but no transparency or follow-up was provided to the public. So, yeah, this pattern definitely mirrors other Boone County incidents. Questionable police killings are buried without thorough media scrutiny or legal consequences. Now, Robert Poole was connected to Tim Nolan, the judge in the middle there. Robert Poole was his attorney. Or maybe, I don't know if he was his direct attorney or not, but he was an attorney tied to Tim Nolan's case. And of course, then, the allegations connected to him are of a broader legal network involvement. So within the legal community in trafficking crimes. So convictions implicate the legal community, suggesting the trafficking network extended into prosecutorial and defense circles. So it wasn't just the prosecution, it was also the defense. It would be interesting to see if their defense system is set up in a similar way as Indiana's, where, the defense attorney is appointed by a judge, and the defense attorney can come from their own private law firms, and they don't necessarily have to come from like a public defender's office. So that is interesting. That would be interesting to look into, actually. But so the sentencing exposed connections between human trafficking and judicial privilege and implies a compromised justice system in northern Kentucky. So authorities failed to fully investigate pools associations, and that left questions open as to who else was involved or protected, and in what legal professions. So, and why would legal professions be engaging in this more than others? Well, because yeah, I mean, they know the law better and they tend to make more money. So, and they're more connected to people in power. So now William Blankenship is the uncle of Brad that we had on, and he is now convicted of sex crimes. But he was allegedly shielded for years due to family connections to the Fraternal Order of Police, the FOP. Let's see. Looks like Tony Podesta. He does, doesn't he? Curious chickpea, yeah. So he was shielded. William Blankenship was shielded for years due to family connections to the Fraternal Order of Police and the Commonwealth Attorney's Office. So the Commonwealth is like their version of like the state, yeah, prosecutions. Yeah, the prosecution. So media coverage deliberately hid the family identity because William's dad and Brad's grandpa was a law enforcement officer. So, the media omitted ties to law enforcement and the Fraternal Order of Police, despite their relevance to the case, right? Because, he's getting away with it for a long time. It could be that people were onto what he was about and they weren't doing anything about it. So, and the prosecution was allegedly delayed or suppressed due to conflicts of interest involving the Commonwealth's attorney, Michelle Snodgrass, which is what Brad was talking about. Virginia and Massachusetts are Commonwealths. Thank you, Diana. Yeah. But anyway, so reflects a broader pattern of selective justice, right? Where connected offenders are shielded until public pressure or external intervention forces action. Now this guy, this is crazy too. So basically later that year, on the 7th of July, 2024, there is a Florence mass shooting. I believe he killed 4 people and injured 3. But this is Chase Garvey. So he had a history of sex offenses and raping a 13-year-old girl. The media and law enforcement failed to investigate his $25,000 posted bond. So when he gets arrested for, the assault of the 13-year-old, somebody posts his $25,000 bond. So, and nobody really looks into it. So there's, potential enablers or judicial favoritism. So, but because he had these prior offenses, he should have been barred from obtaining a firearm. But there was no accountability pursued for how he got a hold of one. And this is always an issue, guys. Like, we've seen it with Captain Howdy too. You know, getting a hold of a gun when you're not supposed to have that gun. So one of the victims was his ex-girlfriend, suggesting a domestic violence motive. But of course, that was also downplayed by local reporting. And I'm not sure, like, if that's like, deliberate or if they just didn't understand that that was part of it. I don't know. But a lot of these things aren't looked into very deeply. And therefore, it's kind of like, well, how are you protecting people if you're not even looking into crimes? You're not. You're just not. You're not protecting people. People have to start protecting themselves. Internal affairs. Yeah. They found no wrongdoing. Yeah. Internal affairs looked into themselves and they were like, yeah, we're good. Sorry. So then, like, what Brad was saying, on the 3rd of January 2025, Michael Howard is arrested, and he's not condoning what this guy does, but in a 5-day investigation, they managed to find 40 child sex abuse charges. So it in relation to how I think it's Boone County. Was it Boone County? I can't remember. But whoever was the investigating force looking into this man, the fact that they like found so much in such a little amount of time is perplexing, because they can't do that with other people, So it's like, oh yeah. Definitely post the link if you can, Shibby. I'm not. Oh yeah, you can. You can post a link because Alex posted a link. So yeah, definitely do it. Yeah, I'll be done with this real quick, guys. I'm just gonna finish up the individuals. Um, but yeah, so it was very fishy that this guy got so many charges and so quickly. Um, And then what Brad was also talking about with this Kentucky representative, TJ Roberts, he doxed a public official on Facebook. I think he said Facebook, yeah. But it does show a broader culture of impunity among politically connected figures. So they definitely ignored calls for accountability, but, it's interesting. So, and then just very recently, there was this false arrest of Sebastian Ernst, who was a former mayor of Falmouth, which is a little town to the south and east, I believe, of Florence, Kentucky, in northern Kentucky. And this was just this past April 16th. But so he was arrested during a public meeting, and his lawyers, I think, were there, and they were saying, like, you cannot arrest him, like, you cannot charge him to the whoever was arresting him. So body camera footage confirmed multiple attorneys advising police not to proceed, but the chief of police insisted. But so it highlighted his willful disregard for legal counsel and due process. Ernst wasn't doing anything wrong. Ernst alleges a coordinated effort by local officials to silence dissent, suggesting the arrest was not just unlawful, but potentially politically motivated retaliation. But the charges were dropped, and he is now pursuing a civil rights lawsuit. And I do think we are going to see more and more civil rights lawsuits, not just in northern Kentucky, but I think also in Indiana. So people need to be a little more careful. I'll go through this really quick because I do want to finish it in case I don't have Alex put the PDF into the script right away, because I know he'll be busy with stuff. So what Brad, I think this was what was really the most moving to me, was that you know the suggested solutions. So legal and institutional accountability. He is suggesting that they apply the RICO Act to Northern Kentucky's legal and law enforcement structures. And the pattern of corruption meets the legal threshold for racketeering. Racketeering influenced and corrupt organizations, RICO prosecution. So there's a call for the Department of Justice and the FBI to use federal power to dismantle entrenched criminal networks. And that would be wonderful if we did that too, you know? Oh, hi, who's your daddy? Hello. Yeah, that would be wonderful if we could bring the FBI in, guys. So, and of course, like, if you want to hold legal and institutional structures, accountable for what they do or don't do, you need to be able to investigate and prosecute public officials, demand independent investigations into law enforcement, prosecutors, and judges implicated in cover-ups or preferential treatment, review decades of systemic abuse via the Truth and Accountability Commission, demand federal and international oversight. So there also needs to be whistleblower protection and survivor justice. Emphasize whistleblower legal protections and safeguards for journalists, survivors, and activists targeted by retaliatory arrests for discrediting campaigns or discrediting campaigns. So yeah, like journalists, survivors, activists are commonly treated as security threats by law enforcement. Of course. So, also have civil and criminal redress for survivors, and promote or provide compensation and trauma-informed services for survivors of institutional abuse, particularly those ignored or silenced by local systems. So, and then what he was talking about was a community-led organizing. And I think like part of the reason why we are, I know it seems laughable to say as far as we are in Delphi, because like it doesn't feel like we're anywhere really. But part of the reason that we have had any success, I do believe, is because there have been enough good faith eyeballs and fresh minds to come into the case and look at it soberly without clouded judgment and without being entrenched or brainwashed by these figureheads that have been installed on the case for a long time that are bad actors, in my opinion. So community-led organizing is very important, and I think that is, if that's like the one saving grace that we have going for Delphi right now, then let's take that win. But Brad is suggesting a formation of modern grassroots coalition, so Northern Kentucky Truth and Accountability Project, or the Committee of 500, inspired by the original 20th century group that tackled organized crime in Newport, Kentucky. So it would be a coalition committed to investigating public corruption, pushing legislative reform, mobilizing public awareness and engagement, a grassroots legal education. We all need a legal education, in my opinion, because it took us all way too flippin' long to realize that the conflation of the post-conviction relief and the post-conviction investigation and the civil lawsuit that was going to be brought against Westville are not all the same things, and that they weren't all interconnected and tied to a particular contract with a group of people. Like, that would have been helpful to understand that immediately, but when people that are better informed at law are the ones that are giving you the narrative or the zoomed out picture, it's not necessarily fair, Anyway, so a grassroots legal education might be really good, and then public education campaigns around civic duty, legal literacy, again, legal education, legal literacy, and government oversight. So, yeah, quit teaching algebra and teach legal. Yeah. Or teach us like how to balance our budgets, too. Like, let's do some practical math, guys. Let's do some practical math, please. So, so he's also suggesting media reform and exposure. Like, let's teach people how to journalist. Like, let's ask some hard questions. But call out complicit media. Like he's calling out the Cincinnati Enquirer because they failed to cover corruption. Let's see, support independent journalists and citizen media. Yeah. Narrative warfare against institutional gaslighting. Agreed. Very important. Counter propaganda and silence by encouraging truth telling and resistance to systemic deception. So push back against propaganda and or just silence when they don't want to say anything, or concede that anything is wrong. And who's your daddy's right? Yeah, go to city council meetings and school board meetings. That's right. Teach thinking for yourself. Amen. Yeah, you guys know what's up. Teach anti-hate too. Yeah, you guys know what's up. Oh, hi, Kara. Hi. Sorry, guys. Let's see. I was really nervous because definitely got threatened tonight, and I'm not just I'm pretty worn out right now. Not gonna lie. I left it in a community post. Oh yeah, while we're talking about it, will you guys please hit the like if you haven't? I definitely need a vacation after this, guys. Yeah, I mean it's not as bad as well, I technically shouldn't even be talking about the other thing that I found in the driveway. So, oh yeah. Yep. It was not as bad though as I thought. Yeah, I did report it. It wasn't funny to me, but it's funny that it is funny when people that you genuinely liked or trusted are laughing at it, and they're like, "Yeah, you nailed it. That's so funny." It's like, okay. We have literally gotten to a point where people don't give a fuck about other people. And even bigger content creators are like, I don't want anything to do with this. Why are you dragging me into this? Blah, blah, blah. And it's like, I want somebody to disavow this shit, but it looks like that people are just not willing to do that. And they really have no morals. Or they have selective morals, which I don't know if that's morality, what are ethics if you don't have principles? Or you only have principles when it's convenient for you, if that shit was done to somebody that she cared about, I don't know. Yeah, have school programs and study hall. Yeah, that would be good. Kids are at risk without supervision. Agree. I do have cameras, Dad. They are unfortunately. Actually, I should not even say that either. Never mind. It's been reported to the police. It has. Oh, don't dox me. It's just the community post. Yeah. It is how people behave in the car. They flick each other off like they're invincible. Yeah, and we have in Arizona, we have the highest rate of people shooting each other over road rage incidents. So, it's scary going to fill up the car because it's is there going to be a shootout? Is there going to be a shootout at the old corral? What's going to happen? Anyway, so yeah, we need media reform and exposure. And this is all Brad stuff, guys. This is why I was so impressed. Such a remarkable young man, just, I genuinely mean that. Very forward thinking. Like I wasn't thinking about this kind of stuff. Like even now, I feel like I'm always spinning my wheels. But so, law enforcement demilitarization and reform. I definitely agree with this. So demilitarize and reorient police institutions. Definitely teach them how to talk to people better, how to de-escalate bad situations. Now he says reevaluate law enforcement's role in the community. I think there should always be law enforcement. I just think they need to be better trained. Remove officers with known affiliations to hate groups. Yeah, that would be good. Consider Delphi with the correctional officers being Odinist fanboys, That's a thing. So, end passive enabling of domestic extremism, especially white nationalist, neo-Nazi, KKK linked networks. Amen. Aryan Brotherhood. Let's do it. Demand proactive investigation and public condemnation of authoritarian ideologies. Yeah. I don't think all the things that we see are without nuance, but it is herd mentality. So I get it, but there's also got to be critical thinking, like Don't Dox Me is saying. No cops in school unless the principal calls because schools need to be held accountable. Yeah, Dox. Yeah, mentorship programs. I agree with that. Yeah, for sure, guys. You guys let's see. This is what heard rapid shotgun fire yesterday morning. Duck hunting season. Okay. Sounded like an automatic shotgun. Oh, okay. Dude, last night I was scared that like a plane went down over my house. Like not onto my house, but somewhere over my house. But I looked it up and because of the heat of Arizona and the terrain and stuff, at night, the low flying planes can be so much louder. It was crazy though. I seriously went outside to see if there were like any fires or like signs of a crash. It was so loud. But anyway, sorry. ADD is real. My medicine has worn off, guys. Yeah, okay, so we're done with that, and I think this is the last slide. Yeah. So this was interesting. I thought this was really, really interesting. If you guys get a chance to read it, I think you'll find it really interesting too. I mean, he's talking about Plato and that kind of stuff. But so, and this is an important lesson for me too, because right now I am definitely feeling vengeful, right? ADD support group. Yes. This is now PTSD, hypervigilant. Yeah, it is. It is PTSD all the time. Like I can't handle loud music. When my cat jumps up on me, I'm like, oh my god, you know. But I think anybody in this would be PTSD. So, yeah. But so he suggests rejecting vengeance and restoring balance. Okay. See, that's something that I'll have to work on. Because, like, I know an eye for an eye makes the whole world blind, but just knowing that people like get off or get to feel like delight or pleasure because they know that you're feeling some sort of way, like that you're feeling uncomfortable and hurt or whatever it is really, really, really irritating. Yeah. So that's going to be something to work on. Promote true justice, not as retaliation, but as reform rooted in reason, truth, and community. So again, got to give up that retaliation. Maybe Avoid cyclical violence by advocating for deep structural change instead of surface level punishment. I think this also applies to prisons, to jails and prisons. I do think that these are places of horror where people are sent to suffer, and not all people deserve that level of suffering. You know, especially if you know they are redeemable, like violent crimes. Yeah, there's a special kind of hell that they've earned. Depends on the psychology too, but non-violent crimes, it's like I don't know why this is a thing. We need to do better. So it's called, oh no. Wow. Okay. So yeah, so avoiding cyclical punishment, encourage personal transformation and societal transformation. I agree with this so much, but you really need institutions for this. So if kids aren't going to get it at home, then they need to get it in school. And if they're not going to get it in school, then they need to get it at home. Well, you know, it's tricky, right? But I agree with that. I think people need to always hold themselves accountable. They need to be willing to do that. And in this day and age, it's like a badge of honor to double down on things and to not give an inch. But that's not making society any better, you know. So advocate for individual healing. Yeah, advocate for individual healing, education, and integrity is foundational to a broader cultural renewal. Yeah, but I mean, you need mental health resources then, you know. If you're going to do healing, and everybody needs therapy, I think it needs to be accessible and affordable. And some people can't afford to eat right now in this country, you know. So affirm hope not as naive optimism, but as radical moral defiance. I had an issue with this, yeah, because I do really feel like, I guess I'm jaded now. I guess I'm an old jaded person because yeah, they do need to make schools cheaper too. My poor kitty isn't suffering PTSD. Lulu's okay. She misses Simba, but I've been looking for another orange kitty, guys. There's a little kitty named Mojo. Oh, I'm sorry. I'll finish this and I'll tell you about Mojo. Okay. Um okay, yeah, so hope is kind of like, you know, I'm a jaded old person now. Yeah, it's just the way it is. Um it feels it feels weird to really want something and to just know that it's not going to happen kind of thing. Or it's like, well, I'll believe it when it happens, you know? So, and then this long-term vision for institutional replacement, he says, exceed reformation, replace failed systems, basically burn it down, restart everything. I agree. I agree. Because it's super easy if you have like some of the same people still in there being like, well, you know, we always did it this way, or you know, whatever it is. So he says many Kentuckian institutions were built by organized criminal interests and were never truly lawful. So that in and of itself is an issue. Indiana has a lot of these same issues, they have a lot of this very deeply entrenched historically and familially within families. They've entrenched a lot of these activities. So new institutions are needed, new just institutions are needed, and they should be designed from the ground up, not merely rebranded. And I totally agree with that. So, student loans, Jesus Christ. Oh my God, yeah. Diana, are you like, can you apply for any of that student loan debt forgiveness? To school and they have no supervision. That's insane. Those videos and books to help with healing. That's true. Who's your daddy? Yeah, I do really like a lot of like the online the YouTubers that are, actual therapists and stuff, like learning a lot of like manipulative, like some of the manipulative tactics that people use, like gaslighting and stuff, like all of that stuff is super interesting. And I'm glad that like there's vocabulary for it too. There's had to like be so much more new vocabulary for online shit. It's insane. You haven't paid a dime and don't plan on it. You keep on deferring. Okay. See, that's intense. You can't apply for loan forgiveness unless you work for the government or NGO, but now Trump might do away with that program. Fuck. That would be stupid if he did. Hey, Dapper Doug. The agent who managed to use using drugs. That was that Ramsey, the one that was fired for his highly intoxicated chance. 20 years of payments. 20 years of payments. Jesus Christ. Yeah. Jesus. So that is the presentation, guys. Thank you. Thank you for letting me finish it. Let me exit the full screen. Do that. Damn. That's intense, dude. Oh, man. But yeah, so you guys can see a lot of the similarities to Delphi, unfortunately. But it is, south of the border. It's right there. It's right there. Cross the Ohio River and you're in Kentucky. So yeah, thank you, Tracy. Thank you guys. Thank you for coming. Let me tell you about this kitty. So there's a kitty named Mojo. Mojo Jojo. I don't know if you guys ever watched Powerpuff Girls. Probably dating myself, but there's a monkey named Mojo Jojo. And I just would love to be able to be like, Mojo Jojo. Like, it's so cute. But he's bonded with this other kitty named Lily, who is kind of shy and standoffish. They're super sweet. They're both, I think, 8 or 10 years old. But Lulu's 13, so, and corruption is a worldwide problem. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, so hopefully should be posted Dave's link. Let's see. Oh, my eyes are gonna let me late at night. I don't like this. Damn. Oh yeah, he did. Okay, he did. Can I copy and paste that? Let me see. No, so it don't let me. Well, Owl on the Prowl is live right now, guys. Don't talk to me, thank you. I was always suspicious of him. No, Mr. Brothers, the teacher, by the way, I think he actually shared a house. Oh no, what the? Oh, thank you, Curious Chickpea. Yay. I'm glad it was useful. I'll have his manifesto up, eventually within the next couple of days. You know me, I'll get sidetracked and forget. But he also has the Substack, which I will link Manifesto, Substack, his Twitter. There's something else. There's something else. Yeah, guys, go ahead and oh yeah. I was like, Dr. Duck, what? But yeah, Owl on the Prowl is live, so please head on over there and give him a like. And yeah, thank you guys for coming. Conceal carry, wear a body cam. Yeah, I do. I do. Well, I don't have a gun. I should get one. I shouldn't have said that on the thing. Repost the link. Let me see if I can find it. There he is. Oh yeah, go on over further and subscribe. Let me make sure that this doesn't come up. Okay, good. I think I have it on mute. Hold on, guys. Let me grab it. Come on. Yeah, thank you guys. I really appreciate all of the commentary too. What? Can you just paste it, please? Thank you. Yeah, that should take you there. Thank you for coming. Thank you for listening. And I'll try to have all the links to stuff. So, yeah. Oh, and the presentation. But I'll need Alex's help with that. So, yeah, great chat docs. You guys are awesome. Oh, thank you, Alex. Alex is here. Cool. All right, guys. Well, that was a long one. I really want to get Taco Bell, but I should not. So, yay! Move to Oregon. Yeah, it's probably more chill there. I don't know. Oregon seems nice, except there's volcanoes, right? Yeah, I'll have to think about it. Yeah, I'll have to consider all the catastrophes that could happen in Oregon. But I'm gonna go watch some Osmond Gold and hopefully laugh and not think about Delphi maybe ever again. That'd be it'd be the best thing that ever happened. But yeah, I love you guys. Take care. Everybody have a good rest of your weekend. Tomorrow's Mother's Day. Don't forget. If there's a lady in your life that is a mother or motherly that you care for, do not forget to reach out and say, I love you. But yeah, bye guys. Go on over to Dave's. I'll talk to you guys later.